The textbook describes 4 modes of delivery and gives examples of when each is appropriate for the occasion. But if you keep in mind our definition of public speaking, a conversation between 13 or more people where you happen to be doing most of the talking, it is obvious that one form is by far the best. But let's skip that one for a moment and talk about the others. Impromptu. These are the people who write their speech just before they get up to speak. I often refer to these people as slackers because they obviously can't be bothered to prepare before class. They tend to feel comfortable in front of groups, so they figure they can just wing it. While they may be comfortable speaking, their speeches tend to make no sense, not because they didn't have time to practice, but because they didn't have time to work through the speech development process and sufficiently get their ideas clear in their head. And if it's not clear in your head, it has no chance of being communicated clearly to the audience. While there are legitimate reasons why you may have to give an impromptu speech, for example, as you're walking into the meeting, your boss says, "Hey, Mitch, why don't you present the sales numbers?" You should only give an impromptu speech when the circumstances and/or a bad boss have conspired against you. Never leave an important speech to impromptu mode. So this brings us to manuscript speeches. These are the people who write their speeches and then read it. Adults do not like being read to. The only thing we'll remember if you read your speech to us is that you wasted 5 to 7 minutes of our life that we'll never get back. People tend to think that writing a speech will make speaking easier, but it's actually the opposite. Delivering a manuscript speech well is incredibly hard, and very few people can do it. So unless you're a broadcaster, the president delivering the State of the Union address, or you're reciting your poetry, avoid manuscript speeches at all costs. A memorized speech is simply a manuscript speech without the manuscript. While you aren't technically reading to us, we still are not likely to be listening to you because if you have your speech memorized, you probably sound like a robot. Overachievers will sometimes try to write the perfect speech and then tell themselves that they'll impress everyone by giving the speech without notes. Then they'll inevitably forget one word, and then the voice inside their head starts screaming, "You screwed up, you screwed up," and then they can't remember anything else that they wanted to say. I suggest that you try to memorize your introduction so that you can maintain 100% eye contact with your audience, but don't try to memorize your entire speech. That's what notes are for. This brings us back to extemporaneous. This is the best type of delivery style that's appropriate for 99.999% of all situations you or I will ever find ourselves speaking in. Extemporaneous speech requires extensive preparation, but is delivered conversationally. A lot of effort is put into identifying the chunks of wisdom that you want to share with us, organizing them, searching for supporting material, and eventually putting everything into the outline format described in Outlining an Effective Speech, which is available on Blackboard. All of this work is intended to identify and clarify the message that you want left inside the heads of the audience. Armed with a crystal clear message in your head, all you have to do is allow your natural conversational skills to take over. If you are well prepared, and you can get that voice inside your head to shut up, you'll be surprised how easily the words will come to you. The key to making this work is accepting the fact that the words that come to you when you're delivering your speech are the correct ones. Context impacts every aspect of communication, and no matter how well you've analyzed the situation, contextual dynamics are fluid and constantly changing. Even in a class like ours, when you feel like you know everyone, things as simple as the weather outside or the topic of the previous speaker will influence the mood in the room. And mood is an important element of context. Trust yourself. Believe that your intuition will put the right words in your mouth and just let the words fly. This is called authenticity, and it's what everyone in the room wants to hear from you. Except for the haters. They don't care what you do because they'll find something to hate you on. So those are the 4 modes of speech delivery. Please do everybody a favor and stick to extemporaneous speech unless for some very, very specific reason you're required to do one of the other 3. As always, ask questions. This is Dr. K coming at you live from the studios of WCAS on the campus of MSU Denver. Like that?
Just try not to drool quite so much on the end of it.